So I'm just going to jot this kind of stuff down. You might want to do it as well, so you have it kind of as your notes to reference back to. So we're just going to go through and list out basically what each of these does. So A, if A was positive, then that was no reflection over the x-axis. A negative A was a reflection. A also controlled the dilation, so that was changing the size. This kind of goes back just like what we had with quadratics. If we're going to say the absolute value, oh my goodness. Absolute value of A, if it is greater than 1, that's going to be a vertical stretch. Between 0 and 1 is a vertical compression. And then equal to 1 was neither. So that's not any change from what we had with quadratics. Right, for B, if B was positive, there was no reflection. Over the y-axis. It was negative, there was. I don't remember, did it? I don't think it had you change. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't have you change that B value to anything. So we'll just leave it as that. All right, and then let's talk about H and K. So H, just like with quadratics, controls our horizontal translation. Or shift, if you want to think of it like that. And that would be what would be underneath the square root. So if it was minus, that was to the right. We'll say H units. And if it is plus, it was left, H units. And then K is our vertical translation or shift. So plus K was up, K units. And minus K was down. So it was always with quadratics, negative infinity to positive infinity. Well, that's not necessarily the case. We're talking about a radical function or a square root function because it has that endpoint. So for instance, let's say I'm just going to create some tick marks here. So let's say that this is my endpoint right here, and my radical function goes off in that direction. In domain, we're talking about x values. And if I'm looking at this particular one that I've drawn here, I don't have any x values until I get to where? Yeah, right here at 3. This is where that endpoint is located. Is it equal to 3 at that point? Like, is that a point on the graph? Yes. So would that be a bracket or parenthesis? Bracket. So we're going to have bracket 3, and then my x values continue to what? Go to infinity. So 3 to infinity for the domain there. Range is the same kind of thing. Because you don't have like that entire type U shape that we were used to with quadratics, you've got to have that endpoint is going to affect the range. So where does my first y value occur here? At 2. So is that going to be equal to 2? So bracket or parentheses? Bracket again. So that would be 2, 2, and then this is continuing to go up to what? Infinity. Okay, let's look at another one. We'll sketch here. Okay, let's see. All right, I'm going to put this one. It's a domain. We're still talking about x's going left to right. So on the left, this arrow indicates it's going towards what? Since it's negative infinity. So I go negative infinity up until x is equal to what? -2. And that's with a bracket. So that's the endpoint. It is a point on the graph. The range, I'm going bottom to top so that this continuing to curve down indicates that it's going towards what at the bottom? Negative infinity up until what? let's do maybe one more. Okay, left to right domain. Where's our domain start for this one? -2. Okay, so bracket -2, and it continues to. Right, range, we're going bottom to top. So it's going to continue to go down. So what does my range start with? We're going bottom to top, least to greatest. This is going to make it, this is continuing to go down. So negative infinity. And then as we come up, it stops at -1. So negative infinity to -1 for the range of that particular one. If you weren't actually looking at the graph, how would you come up with these values, like the numbers that we've used in the domain, not the infinities, but the numbers?
The vertex.
Or yeah, the vertex or the endpoint, which in this form are what? What values? So H and K, we'll say are the endpoint or starting point or vertex. However you want to think of it. HK is that endpoint. So those are where those values come from when you're doing domain and range. Do we have any questions on transformations with square roots?
I have a question for the range.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you say bottom to top, do you mean from the arrow to the point?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Like this arrow indicates it's going down. I mean, you can't, on this area right here, I can't continue to show you that it goes down, but that arrow indicates it's continuing to get smaller there.
Okay.
Any other questions?